And now, from the authorities in sports nutrition, it's the EFX Sports Show. And here's your hosts, Dr. Jeff Golini and Brian Andrews.
Well, welcome to another episode of EFX Sports Show. My name is Dr. Jeff Golini, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Brian Andrews. Good morning, Brian.
I am here, and yes, welcome aboard, everybody who's listened. It is a great day for the EFX Sports Show on ESPN, and today, of course, is no exception. You know, Dr. Jeff, I know you have another tip of the week locked and loaded for our listeners, correct?
I do. Something different here, a little bit different.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be waiting to hear that one, too. And as usual, the old mailbag, I guess you call it these days the inbox, was full with more questions from our listeners. So I've chosen a few for us to answer today. You know, and then I think we're going to do something a little bit different on this episode. You know, normally we'd be interviewing a celebrity or an acquaintance, someone who's in our world, so to speak. I think we're going to take this one on our own because there's some recent topics that have popped up in the news that affect athletes in particular. I think we need to share our opinions on that and just help people be informed because I just don't think this particular subject is getting enough press, and I think we have the platform and the forum here to share this knowledge. So I think that's what we're going to do today instead of an interview. What do you think?
That sounds good.
All right. Well, let's get ready.
All right.
Put on, rev it up, and let's go.
All right, well, we're back here. Well, we never went anywhere. Just had a little music intro. Love it. So I want to talk to you about something that you may have never heard. It's called psycho-cybernetics. Now, don't get scared and run off on me and tune out because this isn't going to be a psychology lesson. This is something for athletes. This is a method for essentially harnessing your subconscious mind. Cybernetics is a common thing from refrigerators to how our human body works. So, for instance, your refrigerator has a cybernetic property to it, and that's the thermostat. You know, that's what tells the refrigerator when to turn itself on, when to turn itself off. It has a target, and it has a goal that it has to obtain, and it will compensate itself whether you need more cool or less cool. And that's an automatic thing. So our bodies have a lot of automatic cybernetic things that we do. But when we talk about psycho-cybernetics, we're talking about, again, harnessing the mind. You've got to remember that the mind does not know the difference between real and reality. So a lot of times this was called imagination or visualization, and is very, very important, for athletes to be able to visualize, imagine what you're going to do, and you will find that you actually can do it. It's a pretty cool thing. I remember back when I was in college and I was first introduced to this. Prior, they used to call it the art of visualization. And I was in a study where for 30 days, every night, and this was during basketball season, I had to visualize being at the foul line. Now remember, I shot about 62%, which was pretty poor. I wasn't a very good foul shooter. So every night I would picture putting on my uniform, standing at the foul line, wearing wristbands, everything that I would normally put on to go to a game, and then I would shoot 10 free throws, and they were perfect swishes, and I would visualize that. And I'll tell you what, after 30 days, my foul shooting went up to 99%, and I didn't do anything different. Pretty amazing. So again, you can't go into a game thinking you're going to lose. You know what? You're going to lose. You can't go in to a powerlifting meet thinking that you can't do something. You've got to visualize yourself doing this, and you've got to do this every night for about 30 days, and your brain will this will now become a reality. You can do this for, losing weight, quit smoking. I mean, there's all different types of things, and there's a lot of good books out there. But anyhow, I just wanted to kind of talk about, again, this art that as an athlete, you need to visualize yourself succeeding, catching the ball, shooting the foul shots, outrunning your opponent, whether it be track and field or, on the field itself. And your brain will actually start to cybernetically incorporate that this is now real. This is what needs to happen, and watch what will happen with your performance.
Awesome. And actually, I know what you're talking about because there is a book called, coincidentally, Psycho-Cybernetics, written by Maxwell Maltz. It was actually written in the 60s, and this Maxwell Maltz was actually an MD. He was a plastic surgeon.
Yep.
He was world-renowned in his era, and he was the one who discovered exactly what you're saying. I remember the biggest thing he noticed was some people would have plastic surgery, and literally because they had their nose, their lip, or some kind of weird defect, or as a result of an accident that they were deformed. When he would give them their surgery, they would be transformed to like a totally different person. But then there were other people who would get the exact same treatment that stayed exactly the same, depressed. And what he figured out was it was all in how they saw themselves. Even though they saw the person in the mirror was now beautiful or perfect in their mind, their subconscious was telling them, no, you're still this other individual that you never liked. And that was how he developed this whole mindset retraining. Like you said, it takes 21 to 30 days to develop that true habit and way of thinking. And that's where this whole thing came from. And it's been proven. I mean, literally, like you said, you were part of a study. This absolutely works. And if you think about people that always seem like they have a rain cloud over their head, it's all in how they think.
Oh, yeah. Well, as an athlete, I mean, even prior to even knowing about this, I mean, part of my prep, whether it was football, basketball, powerlifting, and even getting into bodybuilding, was visualizing. I mean, I would lay down in high school, turn some music on. I used to put a little incense, black light.
Uh-oh.
Gotta date myself, But I would just,
beads?
Yeah, I didn't have no beads, but I would visualize the game. I would picture myself taking the handoff, running over people, scoring, not letting my feet quit moving. When I bodybuilded, I would visualize. I would go through my routine, my posing routine in my brain over and over again. When I powerlifted, I knew exactly what I was going to start, where I was going to go, and I visualized actually accomplishing those lifts. So when I actually went to college and became part of that study, it made sense. And I carried that on through my whole life. I mean, you visualize things all the time and you put them into action. And like you said, 21 to 30 days. But you can get Dr. Maltz's book. I mean, there's been over 35 million copies sold. I'm sure most all libraries have it. You should go check it out. And you don't really need to read the whole thing, book to book, cover to cover if you don't like. Just go through and look at the principles that he's got in there and try them. Put some of those into action.
That's a heck of a tip of the week in my book because your mind controls everything. You can look a certain way, you want to perform a certain way, but it still goes back to that supercomputer sitting between your ears. So let's get that thing programmed properly and watch what happens to you.
Absolutely. And we're not talking about Dinner with the Schmucks, the mind control, if you remember that movie. Although that was kind of what we're talking about. And Brian, I think we're now going into your mailbag Q&A portion of our show.
Yes, let me see what I pulled out for us this week. First question is actually, again, from your hometown, Billings, Montana. And this is about someone named Talon. The question is, my son is in high school and needs to gain weight for sports. What is the best and safest way for him to accomplish this? Fantastic question.
This is, and I get this all the time, and it actually was from their parents who I met at church. And young kid, I've known him for a long time. He's now about ninth grade. Like, I don't know, boy, he's taller than me, so he's probably 6'2" or something. And, needs to put on weight. And they don't know how to do it. They go into, Walmart or GNC, and those people just want to sell a bunch of supplements to them, the sugared down high-calorie drinks. And really what it comes down to is eating. So as I explained, how is he eating? Well, he's a boy, so he's got a big appetite. Does he eat breakfast? No, he's always in a hurry. Okay, let's look at things that you got to get in. So instead of putting together like a bodybuilding diet where it's so strict and these are the foods, you got to look at things that a high school kid would eat. So, again, breakfast, you got to get in some, some oatmeal, some cereal, some kind of grains, some toast. You need protein. So I always say drink at least a glass of milk and maybe a glass of juice, with each meal. Eggs, McMuffin sandwich, so to say. Not that we're going to eat junk, but, things that are a little bit more on the healthier side, but you got to start out with breakfast. And then pack your lunch for school. Most of the school lunches don't have enough calories, and sometimes they're not the best. So I said, pack your lunch, Take a couple sandwiches, turkey, roast beef, chicken. Put some cheese on it. Again, drink milk. And then during the day, if you can, this is where you want to mix up, have a shaker cup of NF Pro protein with a scoop of carbolin. So again, you're going to get about 400 calories of good stuff. That way you're not going from noon all the way till, after school to eat. You're getting something in. And then, they're going to go to the gym and work out at the school. So again, they got to fuel themselves. So you're going to need some more carbolin. And then after workout, again, another protein drink. A little bit more carbolin to get some more calories, and then you kind of move into the evening where, again, some good protein, chicken, pork, fish, pastas, rice, pizza, anything that's got good carbohydrates, milk, and then snack, a peanut butter sandwich. Again, we're not talking about bodybuilding. These are young kids. They need some of that fat. They need a little bit of that sugar in their diet. So, fruit drinks and fruits and milk is really good. So that was kind of my tip is really you just got to eat, Brian.
Man, to be young again, being in high school and you could almost eat anything you wanted and your body would just burn it right back off. And again, because this kid's metabolism is probably so high and he's so active in football or whatever the sport you mentioned was,
yep,
he's going to need fuel. That's all there is to it. The kid needs fuel. Now, of course, again, like you said, we're not talking about filling up on fast foods and that sort of thing. Again, you can get away with it when you're that old.
Yeah.
But focusing on lots of pastas, and especially the trick here, as Jeff mentioned about the protein drinks and that type of thing. It just makes it so much easier and convenient, especially being in a school setting, to have access to that food. And you're not, it's not like he has a microwave he can run over to cook a meal. So let's be realistic with what his schedule looks like and make sure he's heavy on the carbs. I mean, that's the key. That's where that fuel source is going to come from. And don't worry about getting fat. My goodness, that's the beauty and the upside to a lot of this is keep, looking at the scale, looking in the mirror, and if you see like you're piling on the fat, just cut back. It's really about as simple as that.
Yeah, cut back on the French fries.
I don't know. I like me some fries, man.
Yeah, don't kid.
Well, I just noticed we're about out of time on this segment here, so we got to go to break. And when we get back, I think, like I said, we're going to... Oh, actually, we've got a couple more awesome questions we're going to answer here.
Nice.
EFX!
Hey ladies, this is Lenore Pearson from EFX Sports. You should be entering month 3 of your New Year's resolution of getting in shape, losing weight, and way to go. I thought I would help you out by providing a few more tips you could do to stay on track. Every woman comes in their own unique form, and EFX Sports has a full range of products that I recommend. My favorite are Lean Fix, which will help create a thermogenic burn throughout that day. Carbolin, which is a healthy carb that digests quickly and gives you energy, and Creatine for pre-workout. Then use NF Pro Whey Protein to rebuild your muscles after those workouts the healthy way. Just to mention a few, all of these products can be found in Billings at Bonanza Health Foods, Granite, and Yellowstone Fitness. But if your favorite health club or store does not carry EFX Sports yet, tell them to start. For real drug-free muscle, the right way. Remember EFX Sports.
EFX Sports is a product of All American Pharmaceutical, located in the Billings Heights. And the EFX Sports Show, available on iTunes, is now hitting the airwaves in Billings. It can be heard every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 on ESPN Radio, AM 910. If you want to power your workouts and stay in shape like the pros do, then choose EFX Sports Supplements. Manufactured in Billings at All American Pharmaceutical, EFX Sports will keep you in tip-top shape with products such as NF Pro Whey Protein, Carbolin, Crealkaline, Freak Maker, and many more. Head into Bonanza Health Foods, Lucky's Market, Granite Fitness, or Yellowstone Fitness and try them all today. If your favorite store or gym doesn't carry EFX yet, tell them to check into it. Go to AAEFX.com to find out more. Well,
welcome back to the EFX Sports Show. Dr. Jeff Golini with Brian Andrews, and we're in our, I guess it's now becoming our famous Q&A because people are sending in questions from all over the country, which is kind of cool. Local people are listening to the live show, but then it's also podcasted. So, Brian, you've got another great question from Jason from Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yes, I do. And actually, my goal is to take this thing from being famous to worldwide famous. I want to
Nice.
get questions from the UK, Australia, China. Bring them on.
I think that'll probably be shortly, as this starts to get out.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so here's the question. What do you think about using a protein type called casein? What is it, and do you think it's more effective or better than whey protein? And like you said, that's from Jason Morris from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Well, there's all kinds of proteins, and again, when we say protein, I think people default to standard whey. That's what they're going to see on a label. Now, casein, though, is a little bit different. That it's predominantly found in milk. It makes up about 80% of the protein in cow's milk. The other 20% is actually whey. So those are separated in the process to make these powders. And, casein protein is extracted from milk through what's called ultrafiltration without the use of any chemicals. And if you ever want to go into how this stuff is actually done, I'm just telling you that's the term of the process. That's the name of it. Now, the key benefits of a casein protein are that they're very slow digesting, and the amino acid profile in it, it's excellent. It is good for your muscle growth, so that's the kind of thing like slow digesting. A lot of people like to drink this sort of protein at nighttime. And, muscle growth is dependent on the balance between your protein synthesis and how much is broken down. You obviously want that to be positive. And the goal is to increase that protein synthesis while you decrease how much protein is being broken down. I mean, that should be obvious, but that's how it all works. And the thing with a casein protein, it's considered to be what's called muscle sparing. And that's obviously kind of important. And, the cool thing here is that since it enters the bloodstream very slowly, it has a little impact on, say, your insulin levels shooting up or anything like that. But it really does have a good effect on that protein breakdown. And the thing is, whey protein is effective also, but it burns so much faster. That's the biggest difference, I guess you could say, is the speed at which your body is assimilating it. So if you want to take advantage of, a casein protein, there's definitely optimal times of the day. I think I mentioned about taking it before you go to bed because it's going to burn a little slower and release into your system slower while you're asleep, which is a great thing. Most people don't think about, hey, I'm not going to eat for the next 6 to 8, 10 hours, depending on how much sleep you get. I guess the other thing is that whey protein, because it's so rapid, it's great for, say, before or after your workout, especially after, when you just want to get a quick hit of protein. And then, both casein and whey, they're both very valuable. You could use one exclusively, but again, if you're looking for that slow digestion, especially at night, that's where people tend to go to the casein. So what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, and I think what you got to keep in mind is that at the end of the day, protein is protein. It's all the same once your body breaks it down into amino acids. But what's important is your protein sources on how quickly they are digested. And like you said, whey protein is great. It's much more easily assimilated. It's a quicker releasing protein, so it's great, having between your meals. It's great as a recovery or if you like protein beforehand, where casein is a little bit slower. So casein is a great protein to take at night. It doesn't keep you up like if you drink a whey drink. Sometimes you'll get a little mentally alert. But again, I think in any good food regimen, supplement regimen, you need to, use all these different types of protein sources. Now, if you've never tried casein and you're a whey person, it doesn't taste the same. It's got a slightly different taste. So you kind of have to maybe acquire a taste for it as you had to acquire a taste for whey. But again, a very good protein source.
Well, one of the things I noticed too, and again, a lot of this comes back to how it's processed, is that it didn't mix as easily or as well as a whey protein does. Is that because of the processing?
Yeah, if it hasn't been instantized, it's very difficult. If you find a good instant casein, then it'll go in a little bit better. But again, it's just the type of protein where whey, the way that is processed, being it's a byproduct, it's much more thinner. So you'll notice whey protein, if it doesn't have any thickeners, actually is like drinking thin milk. If you ever took milk and put some water in it to thin it out a little bit, that's how I used to have to drink milk because I never liked it real thick. Where casein is more like drinking whole milk, even though there's not fat, it's just got more substance to it.
So at the end of the day, it's an effective protein. It's not going to be something that makes or breaks. But again, we're talking about athletes who are looking for the slightest possible edge. So it's something to consider getting a good casein protein to especially take at nighttime, and then you can use your whey pretty much any time. So again, hopefully that answers your question there, Big Jason, and let us know how it goes for you if you get some. So let's move on to question number 3. Another one from your hometown. How about that? Thanks for all you do for us college girls. Can you help me with something? All the guys here are taking creatinine and carbolin. Are these safe for women? And this is Abby from Billings, Montana. She goes to Rocky Mountain College.
Yeah, and that's a great question because I think, most of the marketing out there really is to guys. So a lot of times, women, they don't know if things are safe. They heard about drugs and different stuff, so they always want to know. So what you got to remember, Abby, is that essentially a man's body and a woman's body, from a digestive standpoint, are very similar. We're not different. So yes, they are safe for you. Creatinine is nothing more than creatine monohydrate. And remember, creatine is one of those things that your body actually produces. You don't have creatine, you cease to exist. That's how important it is. So for an athlete, we are asking more from our bodies, whether you're a man or a woman. And it doesn't matter what your sport is. By building up those creatine stores using creatinine, you're going to have more energy, so to say, more fuel to burn. So you're going to recuperate, you're going to recover. Your stamina, endurance, strength are going to be much greater. Now, carbolin is similar to eating food. Even though it's a dietary supplement, it's really a food source because this is what you're going to take before you practice, before your game. I'm not sure what sport you play, but I think it was volleyball. And this is glycogen, glucose, into the bloodstream as quick as sugar, but completely sugar-free. So this is what's going to actually fuel you for the first 15 minutes as your creatine stores start to kick in and that whole ATP cycle. The whole thing is you want to have energy from point A all the way to point B. You don't want to run out of gas midway and go up and down. So, yes, it's important, and yes, you need to get on that if you're not.
Yeah, and like you said, it's funny when people hear the word creatine, and I've talked to plenty of female athletes, when they hear that, it kind of makes them shudder for a second. I don't know where they got the idea from that. Maybe they thought it was like a hormone or something like that, and it's like, wow, we've said it 1,000,001 times now. If you're an athlete, you need to be taking creatinine. I don't care what their sport is, honestly. I think they get on this stuff and they notice an increase in their power output. Endurance, everything seems to increase. And it's not something that's going to affect your hormones in any way. It's a food-grade technology, just like carbolin. It's just a pure, cleaner, more efficient carb source. And here's the other one I've heard people say, I don't want to get too big.
Oh, boy,
My challenge back to them is, unless you're taking anabolics, I challenge you to try to get too big. Good luck.
Well, and I always say, when they go, well, I don't want to look like that person, I say, well, you're never going to look like that person. Well, why not? Well, I thought you didn't want to. Well, no, but why would you say that? Well, because that person is in the gym 8 hours a day. You're in the gym 3 days a week for 30 minutes. How are you going to look like that person?
Well, and you think they're talking about like a female bodybuilder? I
think usually, they'll see a picture of a female bodybuilder or even a guy, and, that's terrible looking. I don't want to look like that. That's why I don't want to take supplements. That's why I don't want to lift weights. But again, that's like you saying, you don't want to play football like Mr. Peyton. Well, Manning. Well, you ain't never going to play football like Peyton Manning. I'm sorry. Or you're going to be the next Peyton Manning. Well, that's a great goal. Maybe if you visualize it enough and get into the psycho-cybernetics, you might. But, we're talking genetics, sheer willpower, time. There's a lot that goes into being like these top-end athletes. So, again, I always say, no, you're not going to probably look like that person unless you want to.
And I guess when she says safe, again, we're going back to the notion or thought that maybe there's some kind of hormonal manipulation or a chemical or something that she would be ingesting that's going to give her those androgynous type of effects, or maybe she just means just damaging health, period. I'm not sure, but you got to remember that these two products specifically are certified through NSF, which is about as high end as you can go when it comes to screening a product for any kind of banned substances, that sort of thing. And we also are with Informed Sport, so we've got double certification on these technologies and these products. So what we're trying to say is if it's good enough for the Major League Baseball and the NFL, it's probably good enough for what you're doing at your college.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I think people who are sometimes a little bit naive or they haven't been introduced to dietary supplements, supplements, drugs are all just one big category. So again, they're safe. That's what makes what we do different than drugs is we have to be side effect free, and they are approved by FDA for over-the-counter use. They don't show up on drug tests because they're not drugs. They're similar to eating food, where a drug is a drug. They're illegal, they're banned. So again, these are completely two different things.
And I guess this doesn't apply 100%, but I think you get the idea here, is that old tagline, boy, talking about dating ourselves from I think it was even the 70s, there was a product. They used to sell it under the tagline of strong enough for a man but made for a woman.
Oh, yeah, well, absolutely.
These are made for everybody, but I think you get the idea.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, that's going to close up the old inbox or mailbag, and it's time to go to our break. And when we get back, like I said, we got some very important topics to cover, so please stay tuned because you need to hear this. You don't want to miss it, especially if you're an athlete.
EFX!
Hey ladies, this is Lenore Pearson from EFX Sports. You should be entering month 3 of your New Year's resolution of getting in shape, losing weight, and way to go. I thought I would help you out by providing a few more tips you could do to stay on track. Every woman comes in their own unique form, and EFX Sports has a full range of products that I recommend. My favorite are Lean Fix, which will help create a thermogenic burn throughout that day. Carbolin, which is a healthy carb that digests quickly and gives you energy, and Creatine for pre-workout. Then use NF Pro Whey Protein to rebuild your muscles after those workouts the healthy way. Just to mention a few, all of these products can be found in Billings at Bonanza Health Foods, Granite, and Yellowstone Fitness. But if your favorite health club or store does not carry EFX Sports yet, tell them to start. For real drug-free muscle, the right way. Remember EFX Sports.
EFX Sports is a product of All American Pharmaceutical, located in the Billings Heights. And the EFX Sports Show, available on iTunes, is now hitting the airwaves in Billings. It can be heard every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 on ESPN Radio, AM 910. If you want to power your workouts and stay in shape like the pros do, then choose EFX Sports Supplements. Manufactured in Billings at All American Pharmaceutical, EFX Sports will keep you in tip-top shape with products such as NF Pro Whey Protein, Carbolin, Crealkaline, Freak Maker, and many more. Head into Bonanza Health Foods, Lucky's Market, Granite Fitness, or Yellowstone Fitness and try them all today. If your favorite store or gym doesn't carry EFX yet, tell them to check into it. Go to AAEFX.com to find out more.
We all have those times in our life when we need a little extra push. Sometimes our best intentions are just not enough, whether it's in your business, your family life, personal relationships, or your health. This commercial is focused on your health. Our bodies deserve the best. Sometimes we fall short, and that's okay. We're all human. But if you have a goal to lose weight, build muscle, or just simply feel better, there's a local answer. It's EFX Sports. EFX Sports supplements are some of the highest rated, 100% drug-free supplements available today, and they're manufactured right here in Montana. EFX Sports is known all over the world for its signature products, like Creacolin and their all-natural healthy carb mix Carbolin. You can find all EFX Sports products online at AAEFX.com or find them right here in Billings at local stores like Lucky's and Bonanza Health Foods. If you work out at Granite or Yellowstone Fitness, ask for EFX Sports supplements before and after your workout. And if your favorite supermarket doesn't carry EFX Sports yet, ask them today to look into it. For real, drug-free muscle this new year, remember EFX Sports.
Well, welcome back to the EFX Sports Show. My name is Dr. Jeff Golini, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Brian Andrews. And normally this portion of the show, we would have a guest interview, but as Brian mentioned at the beginning, we're going to do something a little bit different because there's a lot of important topics in the news that we think, are sports-related and need to be discussed. So what I wanted to bring up is, Brian, you have seen some of the protein spiking news lately?
Oh, it's been lately and for about, the past year, give or take. I mean, the reason why we want to talk about this is we know that we've got a lot of athletes listening to this, and everyone's looking for that edge. And I would say the majority want it legally. They want to abide by the rules and know that when they stand on that podium or they win and they look at the scoreboard, they know they truly earned every point, regardless of what the other team did. Right? It's good to know that you won fair and square, as we like to say.
Absolutely.
And the subject here, I guess, when it's all said and done, can all go into the word cheating.
Yeah.
And it also goes back to you, the consumer, being cheated. And that's the kind of thing that, knowing what we have done as in manufacturing, as a company, and you see other people also cheating in business and then cheating the end user, that just, I don't know, something about that just makes me ticked off beyond belief.
Yeah.
So I just don't think a lot of this stuff is getting the press it deserves. It's not getting out to the masses to look at this stuff and see, wait a minute, I'm giving you $50 for that jug of protein. Is that stuff really protein? And we're here to tell you that as much as we'd like to think the majority is, there's enough, and even large manufacturers and companies out there that are flat out cheating you, the consumer. And what we have found is there have been a lot of lawsuits against these companies that somehow got buried in the media. But if you start doing some simple searches, you're going to find the names of these guys that have been put on the chopping block, so to speak, with lawsuits and things that are affecting them. That you need to know this stuff. So when you go think you're getting a great deal, you are getting a good deal.
Yeah, and you know what's going on, and this has been going on for years. I mean, I have been saying it, and you know, people are finally starting to listen. The government's finally starting to listen, because it's frustrating, you know, as a manufacturer and as a brand, putting out an honest product. But what's going on is they'll take protein, which is commodity items, so there's set prices, and in order to undercut everybody else, they're cutting that protein. So it started where they would add like maltodextrin or rice flour. I mean, things that are dirt cheap that have no protein sources to bring their costs down. That had been going on. Several companies got caught years ago, went into the media, and nobody cared. The retailers did not discontinue selling the product, and us as consumers, we still bought their product and said, oh, well, that's okay. You know, they're not going to do it anymore, knowing that they're continuing to cheat. One company got caught 3 times, a little hand slap, no fines, nothing. Now what's going on, because they know that the testing is a little more sophisticated back than what it was 15 or 20 years ago, is that most of the protein testing is testing the total nitrogen. So this is similar to what happened in China when the melamine was being spiked by the Chinese into the baby formula, because melamine has a high nitrogen content. Amino acids have a high nitrogen content. So they're basically spiking, adulterating, cutting amino acids into your protein, hoping that a conventional test will show nitrogen. They meet label claim. The problem is some of these people had 10% protein. I don't know about you, but if I want to cut my protein, I want to do it myself. I don't need to pay someone else to do it and then not know it's being done. I don't want to buy amino acids as a protein source. They're not protein. They don't have anything to do with protein. Similar to the questions we were talking earlier about, you know, whey proteins and caseinates and absorption. You know, if you're an athlete and you're trying to get your proteins aligned for the day and how you want it absorbed, and then you use something that's supposed to be 24 grams of protein and 20 grams is glycine, doesn't do anything to muscle growth. Just infuriates me, Brian.
Well, and again, you've sat on both sides of the table for so long, and as a manufacturer, like I said, I know you said 12 years ago, oh my goodness, these guys are cheating. I know they are, and because you had the ability even then to test to see what was actually in the bottle. The problem is it was falling on deaf ears. No one would listen. It's almost like no one cared. And I think the general consumer, again, was the one at the end getting their money taken from them because they just don't know any better. And they just assume, hey, this is a reputable brand. This product has to be legit. Come on.
Well, and then, you know, I think the other thing is, you know, how do we stop these guys from cheating? Because we see the cheaters, they're getting caught, they're being sued, they're being fined, and they're not changing anything because it's all about image. So, okay, we're going to change the color of our label now because this label, you know, everyone knows was cheating, but now we're just going to change our color and oh, we're sorry. No, if they did it once, they're going to continue to do it. So what you need to do is you need to type in on a Google search, you know, protein spiking, protein cheaters, and look at those brands. Let's quit supporting them. That's how we get them out of business. If we continue to buy those products, we're doing more than encouraging their actions. They're making millions of dollars cheating on us, and we as athletes aren't getting what we need. So now we're having to turn to illegal things like anabolic steroids because our protein no longer is working for us. So again, we don't want to be buying brands that have been caught cheating, because guaranteed if they cheated on their protein, they're going to cheat on their multivitamin, their pre-workout, and everything else.
Well, and from an ethical standpoint, I think this is kind of an interesting thing that you've told me multiple times over. I can't even begin to count, is being, number one, a formulator and also in the manufacturing business. How many times overall, 30-plus years you've been doing this, have you been asked directly by somebody who wants the product made, or somebody who is currently, wanting to say switch from their manufacturer to yours, asked you to actually legitimately said flat out, cut this product?
Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore because they know they're going to get a chewing. But in the early days, people would come and say, yeah, look, I want a protein and I want, 6 grams of glycine. Well, why? Well, because I'm going to count it as part of the aminos. Or can you cut it half with carbohydrates? I go, sure, as long as it's going to be on the label. No, we don't want it on the label. Sorry, not us. You just can't do that stuff. It's unethical. Now, the other thing that's going on in the news, this has been happening for years also. It started way back with ephedra, when I discovered that people, China and in the USA, were adding the drug ephedrine, HCl, or pseudoephedrine to their mahang powder. This is why it got banned. Mahang was not dangerous. It was all the drugs in there. I went to FDA. I went to the government. I showed them what I found. Deaf ears. They didn't care. What happened? They just banned mahang. And I remember one time a DEA agent saying, let me ask you a question. Do you really think those drug guys can get the ephedrine out of that mahang powder? And I'm like, well, if they're smart enough to take a Sudafed and break down those tablets and those binders and get the ephedrine out, you don't think they can just run it through a little kitchen screen and screen these big crystals out? I mean, come on, But now look at athletes who are drug tested. We're talking about these NSF certifications for Major League Baseball and Informed Choice and Informed Sport. USP Labs. Popular brand, their products grew. People claim they work like drugs. Well, guess what? They were drugs. These guys were putting drugs in their products to make them work better. I mean, talk about how do you sleep at night?
Again, where do you even begin with all this stuff? And I know that you were actually, if I didn't say it before, were used as an expert witness, interviewed for Forbes magazine.
Yeah, on the same thing. On
this whole protein spiking thing.
Well, and you said to me the other day, you said, look, how is USP Labs still in business? And I'm like, people, why are you buying their products? Their owners, their formulators, their chemists, their bookkeepers all knew what was going on. They're all going to jail. They were indicted by the U.S. government. These drugs are narcotics, the same as cocaine, methamphetamines. What if they were putting cocaine in your product? Would you be mad? Yeah, you would. So what's the difference of these other drugs that they were putting in your product?
That's exactly right. And I guess a lot of these companies just feel like they are either above the law, they don't care, but I think a lot of it comes down to just pure greed, where
the mighty dollar.
You start making money, it gets easier and easier and easier, and you really have no competition when you're the one who can put banned substances in your product and you're competing against regular food-grade material.
Yeah.
Of course people are going to flock to that product and use it.
Yeah, well, they think that it's they just developed something good. So, again, as consumers, I was thinking about this the other day. If a brand of tires were caught cheating and they wore out, they didn't perform well, we wouldn't use those. As a matter of fact, the government would probably ban those and take those tires off the market. Why don't they ban and take these companies off the market who are cheating? And again, us as consumers, we got to quit supporting it. So that's why you really need to go on and type in USP Labs, type in protein cheaters, and look at these brands. You will be shocked, because these are the brands when you go into your big discount stores and your big box clubs, you're going to see these brands on the shelf. Why do the stores continue to sell them? And why do these brands continue to make them? Because you guys continue to buy them. So as long as you're supporting these cheaters, they're getting away with cheating, and they're the ones laughing all the way to the bank,
Yeah, I guess like you said, it's driven by the almighty dollar, where if I'm a giant store and I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory, I either can just keep selling it because it is selling, or go through the hassle in the process and trying to chase down credits and get all this stuff returned and off my shelf, and then try to go through the hassle of getting something else to replace it. I think they're just choosing the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, just crazy.
Well, and let's just be very clear here. You mentioned this one brand. When they were caught, they were used as the example in the report, but the U.S. Department of Justice also mentioned that there were 110 companies pulled into that investigation that were all served with papers like USP when they were brought down. And the owners were literally picked up at their homes. There were so many charges against them on every level you could think of. I mean, fraudulent reporting of what was in their product. They were paying off formulators to falsify documents, all to sell. And if I remember correctly, I think they said that their total sales were something like $400 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Absolutely it is. All right, well, hey, look, we got to go to break, so why don't we see if we can take a breather here and calm down, but I don't think that's going to happen. When we get back, we're going to pick up on this very important topic of cheating.
EFX!
If you want to power your workouts and stay in shape like the pros do, then choose EFX Sports Supplements. Manufactured in Billings at All American Pharmaceutical, EFX Sports will keep you in tip-top shape with products such as NF Pro Whey Protein, Carbolin, Crealkaline, Freak Maker, and many more. Head into Bonanza Health Foods, Lucky's Market, Granite Fitness, or Yellowstone Fitness and try them all today. If your favorite store or gym doesn't carry EFX yet, tell them to check into it. Go to AAEFX.com to find out more.
Hey ladies, this is Lenore Pearson from EFX Sports. You should be entering month 3 of your New Year's resolution of getting in shape, losing weight, and way to go. I thought I would help you out by providing a few more tips you could do to stay on track. Every woman comes in their own unique form, and EFX Sports has a full range of products that I recommend. My favorite are Lean Fix, which will help create a thermogenic burn throughout that day. Carbolin, which is a healthy carb that digests quickly and gives you energy, and Creatine for pre-workout. Then use NF Pro Whey Protein to rebuild your muscles after those workouts to healthy weight. Just to mention a few, all of these products can be found in Billings at Bonanza Health Foods, Granite, and Yellowstone Fitness. But if your favorite health club or store does not carry EFX Sports yet, tell them to start. For real drug-free muscle, the right way. Remember EFX Sports.
EFX Sports is a product of All American Pharmaceutical, located in the Billings Heights. And the EFX Sports Show, available on iTunes, is now hitting the airwaves in Billings. It can be heard every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 on ESPN Radio, AM 910.
We all have those times in our life when we need a little extra push. Sometimes our best intentions are just not enough, whether it's in your business, your family life, personal relationships, or your health. This commercial is focused on your health. Our bodies deserve the best. Sometimes we fall short, and that's okay. We're all human. But if you have a goal to lose weight, build muscle, or just simply feel better, there's a local answer. It's EFX Sports. EFX Sports supplements are some of the highest rated, 100% drug-free supplements available today, and they're manufactured right here in Montana. EFX Sports is known all over the world for its signature products, like Crealkaline and their all-natural healthy carb mix Carbolin. You can find all EFX Sports products online at AAEFX.com or find them right here in Billings at local stores like Lucky's and Bonanza Health Foods. If you work out at Granite or Yellowstone Fitness, ask for EFX Sports supplements before and after your workout. And if your favorite supermarket doesn't carry EFX Sports yet, ask them today to look into it. For real, drug-free muscle this new year, remember EFX Sports.
Well, we're kind of in our special edition show where Brian and I get to discuss topics that are dear to our hearts, and we've been talking about cheating. And you know, another thing, you remember several years ago, and the brand was SciFit that counterfeited Crealkaline? I mean...
Yes, and actually, I was the one who found that.
Yeah, you were. And remember how difficult we actually went to these big stores and we told them that that product was counterfeit, and how we literally almost couldn't even get that product off the shelf, that they didn't care. I mean,
I think we went to, actually, it was 2 large resellers. I mean, you as the inventor couldn't get them to understand or to comply with showing them they were selling fraudulent product.
Yeah, and, you know, even with quarters, I mean, it's crazy. Again, you know, it's all about the mighty dollar. People knowing that things are wrong, you know, whether it's a counterfeit product or an adulterated or spiked product. I don't know. I think, honest business people would not want to deal with that stuff. So again, the bottom line is let's not support these brands and tell all your friends not to support. There are enough good brands out there like EFX Sports that really do all their homework and really work hard. Are they a little more expensive? Yes. But you know what? Look at anything you buy. Things that have quality are normally going to cost a little bit more. You want a quality piece of electronics, you better buy a quality brand. When you go to those Black Friday sales and you get one of those TVs for $29.99, I heard they're literally disposable. They last like 2 months and they burn out. I mean,
Wow.
that's what you're going to get. Now,
I never bought one, so I can't vouch.
Talking about cheating, kind of the second part to it now is these are brands and things that we said we don't want to support. So you got my opinion on that. Brian, what about athletes who think that they need to cheat using sports enhancement drugs to be successful?
There's a hornet's nest for you.
Whoo!
You had to go there.
You know what? Because again, like the USP putting drugs in there, I wonder how many natural athletes, law enforcement, military people tested positive on a drug test and never did a drug in their life because of supplements like this. So, you got people that are getting caught and getting branded as a steroid user when they really naively took a product that they didn't do their homework on. But then you got the other side of the fence that knowing that, anabolic steroids and sports enhancement products are illegal, yet you're going to take them. Do you remember, this is really going back, John Candy was in the movie Cool Running, where he was an American bobsledder and he got caught cheating. He put weights in the front. And kind of through the show, he finally got an opportunity to tell his team. They finally said, "Why did you do it, man? Why did you cheat?" And he said, I got to a point where I could not lose. And I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have enough confidence in myself, so I thought I just had to cheat. And I think that's a lot of times what these athletes do is they don't have enough confidence in themselves, in their trainers, in their supplements, their food programs, their training programs, that they think they have to cheat to get ahead.
Well, and I have to say, on some level, I do feel somewhat for people at the upper end of being elite. And what I mean is, I think the biggest notion there is, if I don't, everyone else is, and how am I going to compete? That seems to be the driving factor behind all of it.
And it should be up to the leagues to take care of this. I mean, look at racing. You can't come in there with a specific motor and race against another guy. They have different classes. They check that out. You can't put things in that are illegal. I mean, so if they can do it in motor racing, that is, the biggest watch sport, NASCAR, drag racing, why can't they monitor these other professional athletes? And I'll tell you why, is because they're afraid of losing watchers, losing fans, where, when they started to monitor racing and they said, okay, this is modified stock, all of a sudden the speed went down. These cars only go 130, but these cars go 220. That's okay. They didn't lose fans. But I think, again, the professional levels, they're afraid of losing fans. You remember when years ago for 1 year, they banned it and they actually tested for anabolic steroids in the IFBB, Mr. Olympia, and
that was my next subject.
All the athletes came in looking a little different than they did a year ago. Now, obviously, they didn't have time in 1 year to really get to where they were. And the people complained. The same ones that complained about these guys do drugs, they complained, oh, these guys look terrible. We're not going to support the sport anymore. So they dropped the drug testing.
Well, and I think I guess goes back to being entertained and somewhat human nature.
Right.
It's an extreme, and they want the more extreme and more, and they want to keep pushing the envelope. Look at all the, the X Games and all these things that celebrate jumping a skateboard higher and a bike going high. I mean, everything is of course extreme. They want to see something that's so far out of the realm of what they are used to. And when it comes to seeing physiques that are so developed and almost literally freakish, when you take that element away and start going back, it's kind of like, whoa, what happened? I'm not being entertained anymore. That's
But
not
you know
what I
what?
paid for.
But look at the MMA, and I got to give it to them. You know, they really do a great job at drug testing their people. I mean, those athletes are natural because they actually drug test. And is the MMA any less entertaining than any other sport? No. I mean, it's probably more entertaining. And those guys are really athletic. I mean, what they put themselves through. So again, I think if the other professional leagues, followed suit, but, I think the problem is they've let it got so far out of hand now that how do you now go backwards,
But yeah, the old put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But now here's the good thing is, thank goodness for technology, because
Yes.
the sports nutrition, the stuff we've been covering on this show and in some of our previous questions, it has come so far. Think of the technology coming out of just your own building.
Oh, yeah. And I can tell you right now as an athlete, if you think that you're never going to turn pro or you're not going to make it in college if you don't use drugs, I'm going to tell you right now, you've been deceived because you're cutting yourself short. You need to take a step back and look at the sports nutrition technology, the food technology, your training. Look at a pie. 50% of your achievement is your God-given ability and your coaches. 50%. The other 50 is your supplements and your food. So if you get all those four things in line, you can become a professional athlete. But again, if you don't have the genetics and you're just no good, I don't care how many drugs you take. Drugs are not a miracle. They don't make the athlete. It's everything else that goes in. So again, don't be deceived. I had a young gal at the gym last night getting into the sport, training natural. And of course, it's the pushers that say, oh, you know what? I'm using this and everyone else is doing this, so you should do that. No, that's a business for them. They're trying to push something on you to make some money. They don't care whether they screw you up, whether they get you eliminated, they get you banned. My goodness, look at now NFL. I mean, Major League Baseball, people are losing their titles, their records because of drugs. You don't want to get in that situation.
No, and especially when you've got multiple $1 million sitting on the line based on that contract. Is it really worth it when it's all said and done?
Lance Armstrong.
I know I would want to be able to hit a ball
10
feet further or whatever it is, but I don't know. I just don't think I'd want to risk it, especially knowing, again, that's part of what we're doing here is getting the word out that you have options now. And I'm talking about valid, worthy options.
And again, not to beat a dead horse, deader, not that that's good English, but my point is these things are illegal. They are illegal to possess. They're illegal to use. You get caught, it's the same situation as getting caught with methamphetamines, cocaine, heroin. Same thing. Number two, they're dangerous. You are either going to lose your hair, you're going to be a gal that's going to sound and look like a guy, and you're probably going to have a heart attack, a stroke, or die. I mean, come on, it's the same thing as smoking. Smoking might not do something. Smoking causes cancer. Anabolic steroids will kill you one way or another. I mean, so...
Hey, and I just thought of something before we ran out of time. One I think we should throw out there and address very quickly are pro-hormones. That's kind of that gray area word, substance that people will be pushing onto their buddies saying, oh, no, this is not the same as these anabolics over here.
Nah, pro-hormones, I don't remember what year, but 1998, something like that, got brought under the Steroid Act, and they're a drug now. Just because they're a precursor to making anabolic steroids, no, they are now a Schedule III narcotic. So if anybody's trying to push a pro-hormone, a SARM, these are all illegal drugs, and run, stay away from them. You don't need them.
And actually what I found is it's, in some ways, from what I understand, the people using those is they're actually harder on your body, especially your liver, because almost all of them are oral, which means they pass through twice.
Yeah, let's get back to basics, man. Let's be athletes, Let's eat, live, and breed our sport. I mean, let's put the time and the sweat in and go to bed knowing that you won or lost fairly. It isn't about that trophy. It should be about your personal pride. Years ago, athletes took more pride in what they did. how they performed. And it wasn't always about winning. I know that when I played, we could have won as a team, but if I performed poorly, I wasn't happy with myself. I was excited about the team winning, but I needed to go work harder. The same way that if our team lost, I was disappointed, but if I did the best I could, I actually felt good about losing. Now, it was up to me to help the team do a better job so that we could win, but you felt good about yourself.
So bottom line is, again, you have options, and again, let's bring pride. Let's throw ego out.
Yeah.
Win and know that you earned that point, that score, that title, that medal the right way. You don't want anything that's going to haunt you the rest of your life that you've got to justify, but I did that and won millions of dollars. Don't sell your soul for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to hop off of our soapboxes. Maybe we can get some feedback on this one. If you have any opposing views, let us know. We love feedback. We love your questions. We really do appreciate you listening. And I always like to say a quick shout-out to our producer extraordinaire, Mr. Seth Williamson. Great job on all you do, keeping us on track and lining up our guests. And we just hope you enjoyed this. Thanks to ESPN. And we are out.
Underground in the EFX studio, you've been listening to the EFX Sports Show. Find all the EFX sports supplements and products by logging on to aaefx.com.